online. Do we have any online Zoom comments?
We have no online Zoom comments.
Okay, and we have a speaker. We're ready.
All aware, as you're all aware, we represent the people in the community of all levels of education and all types of cultures, including our skin color and everything that has to do with it. And this is America. And so that was to contextualize my reason for being here. We have an item that's going to be proposed in front of you. And I don't know if you had the opportunity to speak directly with a member that is trying to propose an infrastructure for meditation. It's a cultural building to bring that forth to the people and have more peace instead of division happening here. But the procedural processes seem to be affecting the building that would be structured with certain restrictions. And those restrictions would not allow for occupancy for these members to be able to associate in that building off of Stoddard Wells, because there's a large amount of sum that needs to be required for these processes of certain parts of the area, the frontage part of the area, to have that road built. And so I know with the CUP that is happening right now, it allots a certain level of wiggle room. But I also am understanding that when you're at the quasi-judicial process, which you are here today, the recommendation also with a motion can allow this structure to go forth with restrictions that allow for occupancy. And perhaps if there are other structures, that's just one option that I'm proposing.
Is this, I'm sorry, is this about?
This is, yeah, but I'm doing this on public comment on public comment.
Because we will be addressing this item.
Yes, and I'm thoroughly understanding of that, sir. Maybe I want to speak twice. 3 minutes is very, very little minutes. So if I can address that as well, that's what I'm doing here today. And so I'm just trying to get my will bearings. You're going to make ultimately your decision, but this is going to be placed on the record. And as a proponent who tries to ensure that our cultures and a variety of divisions come in here, a lot of them don't understand quite well what are our options. And I'm probably starting to understand some of those options. So if we could even try to consider some, I don't know if there's a subdivision lien or a bond or something that can be pre-allocated instead of 3 years, maybe 5 years, but allow for occupancy to continue, because a CUP can be pulled in 1 year. I mean, that's not a matter of, well, the person took 5 years and it never came about. The CUP can have a public hearing, you pull or whatever. Anyways, the point being here is you do have options, and you do. And so I'm just asking you to be conscientiously aware that when we put stuff like this on the record, it's really because we put our essence of understanding that it holds beholden on you. It's now not Blanca Gomez's decision. It's not. I'm just here to help someone where I see something good. And I know the experience that's before me can be a recommendation that really aids this infrastructure to occur, because that's the power that 3 of you minimum have, which is called a consensus. And that's the same exercise that I use when I try to.
That's the 3 minutes. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. It's been 3 minutes. Thank you.
Is there anyone here else for general workshop public comments?
Yes, our next speaker is Paul Marsh.
Good evening, Chair Earth and Vice Chair Harriman and rest of the Planning Commission and staff. What I'd like to just briefly bring up, and hopefully there's a resolution to this, is that it's an item that's been talked about many times, and it's just the trash receptacles and the trash that's kind of just thrown all over the place. Between St. Andrews and 7th Street, there's an alleyway that we've all discussed before, but the trash receptacles, the Dipsy dumpsters and whatnot, they're all open. I noticed that behind the old teasers that burned down, they did enclose their um, area. They put up a gate or barrier, and it's clean around that area. But if you look all the way down that alleyway, I mean, there's trash everywhere. It looks really horrible. So I'm just hoping that, that maybe there's some plan already in place to address that. But if not, we can, if there can be attention put on that area at least, the way I discovered it, and it's an eyesore. I went to go to Baker's because they had Taco Tuesday yesterday, and I didn't go because the place looked. I mean, that area looked nasty. I mean, right behind Baker's, there was so much trash, not in the receptacle, but outside of the outside, all over the ground. And forget about the encampments that are along the fence line, and on that alleyway. But the trash, the receptacles, they're not secured. Maybe if they're not being used, maybe the city can have bird just pick them up. I mean, if they're being pushed into the empty lots. There's all kinds of things that are taking place. But I'm just hoping that we can address that, as the city and kind of clean that area up, because it really looks bad. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak to us tonight?
There are no other requests in chambers.
Okay. I'll close the public comments. And I would ask Mr. Webb, is there any way that the appropriate department could take a look at that issue that was just mentioned?
Yes, we could do that.
Thank you. Okay, this is still the workshop session portion, so we'll quickly go through the agenda here. Are there any questions of the commission on agenda item number 2? Does the commission have any questions or clarifications needed from staff on agenda item number 3? Okay, anything for number 4? And how about anything on the new business item number 5? Okay. Seeing nothing with the workshop any longer, then I will adjourn to the regular planning commission meeting that will start in approximately 4 minutes at 5 o'clock. Okay, it's now 5 o'clock and I want to welcome you all to the Planning Commission meeting of the City of Victorville for December 8th, 2021. I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cook Askins,
Present.
Commissioner Messin,
Present.
Commissioner Thomas,
Present.
Vice Chair Harriman,
Here.
Chair Kerr.
Here. At this time, if you please rise for the invocation, which will be led to us by Commissioner Cook Askins Jr., followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Thomas.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and thank you for allowing us to meet this evening as we meet as this commission. We ask a special blessing upon the commission tonight and all the staff, as well as our city council. And we ask thy continuous blessings on the city of Victorville and all that are present this evening. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So face the flag, place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this point, I need to give just a little bit of information regarding public participation. Planning Commission is interested in hearing from the public. Individuals from the public may speak on agenda items or on issues not posted on the agenda during this public comment section, providing those issues are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. Individual speakers may address the Planning Commission once per public hearing period and once per each public hearing item for up to 3 minutes. For those attending the meeting in person, and though not required, please utilize the provided iPad located in the chamber to electronically submit a request to speak or complete a speaker card prior to the start of the meeting and place it in the clear speaker box located on the dais counter. If you'd like to comment on a public hearing item, please submit a speaker's card before the hearing item is announced. For those of you that are attending by Zoom, please click the raise your hand feature located on the Zoom screen. Whether attending this meeting in person or via Zoom, once comments are invited, the speaker will be called on by name, then recognized by the presiding officer. Audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting. And those who do are subject to removal from the meeting pursuant to Code 403. Thank you. So with that, we will move on to item number 1, which is the approval of the November 10th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting minutes.
I, Commissioner Cook Askins, make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I, Commissioner Thomas, second the motion.
Commissioner Cook Askins,
Aye.
Commissioner Messin, Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Vice Chair Harriman,
Aye.
Chair Kerr.
Aye. So moving on to agenda item number 2, can we have the staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Kerr, fellow commissioners. Item number 2 is case PLAN 21-00036. It is a plan unit development, PUD, with an environmental exemption to allow for the establishment of development standards for a single-family residential development and a development plan to establish design standards within tracks 16887 and 17599. The applicant is LGI Homes, and this is generally located at the southeast corner of Eucalyptus Street and Richmond Avenue. The applicants proposing this plan unit development on their 53 acres of tracts, which includes a total of 181 single-family homes, to allow for the development of more of a ranch-style community with single-story structures that have wider footprints along the frontage. When they seek to do that, they realize that the setbacks were constricting the ranch style product that they wanted to place on these graded lots. Currently, our setbacks for the R1 district, which they're located in now, require a side yard setback of 5 feet on one side and 10 feet on the other. So this developer is asking the city and using the PUD ordinance as a mechanism to allow the setback change to go from the 5 and 10 to just a 5 and 5 setback on each side. The PUD proposal also would restrict the development to single stories only. As a way to enhance privacy in the community. Also, these recorded maps do have a large landscape maintenance assessment district where Richmond meets Eucalyptus. This developer is proposing to fill some of the missing gaps of that maintenance assessment district to create a uniform landscape entry along Richmond Avenue. But unlike other PUDs, this is a very simple proposal. Most of what they're proposing will conform to our normal R1 standards. They're not requesting an increase in density. They're only asking for the side yard setbacks to allow for those 5 and 5. And they're allowing the PUD to have a restriction for single story developments only. And with that, staff finds that the proposal meets our municipal code standards. And we recommend the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing, receive testimony regarding the proposed project, and take the following actions. Recommend that the City Council find the PUD ordinance and development plan exempt pursuant to section 15061B3 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines, and adopt resolution number P-21-050, recommending City Council approval of the plan unit development ordinance, and adopt resolution number P-21-051, recommending City Council approval of the plan unit development. And with that, staff's available should you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. And before we move forward with this one, I need to take one step back real quick. I jumped into the public hearings too quick. I wanted to make mention that tonight we are fortunate to have our a new and 5th commissioner finally come on board tonight. Her name is Commissioner Kimberly Messon. And on behalf of the commission, I just wanted to say welcome tonight. If you have any questions throughout or any concerns, of course, we're all separated real far here, but just speak up and it's real comfortable. So thanks for being here. Thanks for joining the commission. And with that, then I'll move on number 2 here. Is there any questions from the commission of staff on number 2, the staff report we just heard?
Yeah, Scott, so you said the typical setback is 10 feet and 5 feet?
Yes, for the side yard setback for an R1 zone, yes.
And they're looking for 5 feet and 5 feet. And does that include the overhang from the roof?
This would be from property line to structure. So it does, our code does allow for the eave to overhang approximately 2 feet.
So that would give 3 feet from the edge of the roof to the property line?
Correct.
I don't find that, I don't like that. I have a couple comments then. These houses are very attractive. I really like the houses, but there's a couple problems I have, and that is the space and the use of the space. So on top of asking for a 3 foot from the roof to the property line, they're requesting, well, the floor plan has an 18-foot by 20-foot long garage, which is an extremely small garage. And the driveways are only 16 feet wide. I'm not a connoisseur of 16-foot driveways because 2 vehicles, half of people have pickup trucks. 2 vehicles in the driveway, that leaves absolutely no room to get out, exit your vehicle onto the concrete. And the length of the driveways, the new code ADA requires a handicap bypass on the back of the driveway approach. So the sidewalk, city sidewalk enters the driveway approach on both sides, but then has to take 4 feet and extend out on the back for ADA, for ADA compliance. And these driveways are very short. I see the vehicles sticking out and blocking this area. So I think we got an issue with space, the way this is laying out.
So I would just like to clarify one thing. So under the R1 standard, LGI could build on this track today, and it would just be a 20-foot setback from property line to their garage. So they're not asking to encroach closer to the street with their garage. But through the plan unit development ordinance, the planning commission could recommend different changes to make this a superior development. When you stated the garage size or the driveway width size, those are the minimums that are in our municipal code today for the R1 district. But the PUD ordinance does allow for different standards. So with our garage size, this development is proposing 2-car garages, and that's required by code currently. Those would be 18 feet in width by 20 feet in depth. And then the driveway width per our municipal code is 16 feet in width up to the garage. So those are the minimums. If the commission wants to have dialogue with the developer on having additional requirements associated with that, that can occur tonight.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions before we open the public hearing?
Yes. Scott, did you say that in this case, they were looking at 16 feet setback from the from the structure and the driveway going out to the street?
Yeah, let me clarify. So the setback from the property line where the street is to the structure of the garage is 20 feet. That's maintained, and that's what's required by the current R1 standard and what they're proposing under this PUD. The 16 feet is Commissioner Harriman pointed out that the driveway width, so the pavement of that driveway is 16 feet in width, leading up to that garage that's set back 20 feet a minimum. So the 16 feet is what Commissioner Harriman was saying was somewhat tight. Yeah, hopefully that clarified.
Yes. But excuse me, I'd like to add my concern to the width of the driveway because again, as he stated, so many people drive pickup trucks now, and they're not small trucks, and that does give me a little concern.
Scott, I had a quick question.
Sure.
The surrounding area is developed. Do we know if those residential areas have in proximity, the same amount in width, or is it substantially different?
I would have to say that the typical developer that just builds a two-car garage would build out between, 16, 17, maybe 18 feet in width. But 16 is the minimum. Obviously, if they had a third car garage, that would add more width to the frontage, but yeah, I would say it would range between 16 to 18 feet in width.
Thank you.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and I will open up the public hearing portion. Is there an applicant or developer, a representative here on this project tonight? Would you like to come forward, sir? I think it sounds like we might have a couple questions for you that you might be able to help us with. And of course, this will also be your chance if you have anything to present to us at this time as well. As you were listening, there seems to be a little bit of dialogue here right off the bat with the driveway widths and the layout of those. And is it, I think I remember seeing here, is it all the homes that you're proposing would be two-car garage?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, maybe you could give us a little bit of information on the purpose of that and anything else that has to do with the
Sure.
frontier.
First off, my name is Brian Lowell. I'm from Hunsaker and Associates. We're the engineer for the project. I believe there might be a representative online from LGI Homes as well. But as far as your concerns about the driveways, the typical driveway dimensions in Victorville and throughout Riverside and San Bernardino counties are generally 16 feet wide by about 20 feet deep. That's pretty typical. Most of your homes, I'm pretty certain, have about the same width and same dimension. I don't know what you would like us to do to modify that, but right now we're in compliance with the city's ordinances, but we're open to talking with the city about changing if needed. As far as the two-car garages, that's pretty typical as well. Our houses are planned to be single story. We believe that's the part of the market that's underserved. Most people are trying to get two-story homes, as big of a house as you can, and as small of a lot as you can. We're trying to change that a little bit by making a nice single-story ranch-style home that's more appealing to first-time home buyers, people with disabilities, whatnot. But it's a more comfortable house plan by having a spread-out floor plan. And as far as the setbacks to the property lines, most houses generally have a 5-foot setback from the property line to the house with your eaves overhanging. That's pretty typical, and that's what we're hoping to do here as well. Were there any other specific questions you had any concerns about?
Yeah, well, you mentioned typical. I understand. I get that, but I'm looking at space, and the reason for that is the city is getting so crowded. Okay, and I can speak for my street. Sometimes there's nowhere to park. Nobody, they're parking in the front yards. I mean, everybody sees that, and I'd like to try to avoid that. Now, granted, the garage is small. That's a small garage, sir. That's a small garage. So I'm recommending that the driveways go 18 feet. That's adding 12 inches to each side. The 16-foot garage lines up directly with the garage door. Adding 12 inches to each side enables people to get the cars there a little more comfortably and maybe exit the car onto the driveway rather than stepping onto the landscape. And then I understand the houses it's a wider home. And by the way, the homes are beautiful. They're very nice. But my 3 feet is just ridiculous. I mean, I can jump from one house roof to the other, okay, with a little bit of a head start. But I'm looking, and I understand it's a planned unit development where things are a little tighter, but I think the space needs to get opened up a little bit.
Well, what we've done, sir, is not every single house is going to be 5 foot on either side. There are some houses that we're proposing that have a narrower footprint, and we will try to line those up so we'll maximize the space between buildings as much as possible. But there will be some circumstances where there'll be 5 foot to the property line on both sides of the house. That's just the nature of the.
I'm sorry, are all the homes gonna set back the exact same depth from the city sidewalk? Are they gonna be right in line? Or are some of them gonna be back farther? I understand the design of the home. Some of them are, have a different layout. I don't like the look of a housing project that way. You know, so I just have a little bit of problem with the setbacks.
What's nice about this project is that the houses have varying elevations of the front, so it's not a straight box. So as you look down the street, you see all the houses, you know, lined up perfectly. So there will be staggers in the elevations as you go down the street. There's different colors, different elevation types, different facade types, just to kind of enhance the look. Our goal is to make this house swing track as pretty as possible, as curb appealing as possible, and make sure that everybody doesn't feel like they're in a cookie cutter, the boxed in townhome product. The idea is to make it a very nice, desirable neighborhood.
Man, I wish you guys would start adding some space to the garage. It's really an issue nowadays. I myself, it's ridiculous how many people are parking on their yards. And it's due to the driveways are not long enough, they're not wide enough. And the garages are too small to get 2 vehicles in and exit your vehicle. So that's kind of my thing. The homes are beautiful. I really like the homes. So I would propose that at least the driveways get widened up. So 18 feet and, you know, as a concrete contractor, I can tell you that adding 12 inches on each side of the driveways is a very minute cost compared to what the homeowner is going to have to pay when they want to widen everything out. And these homes are so close together, I don't even know if they're going to be able to widen them out.
Our goal was to minimize the impervious area. I know you get too much concrete, it becomes a counterproductive benefit, where you have a benefit of having more driveway, but you have the consequence of having less landscape. So we were trying to maximize the landscape to enhance the curb appeal.
Okay, that's all I have.
I have a question. 181 single-family dwellings. And I saw something there that in the design, there's a walking path in that area. Was that not correct? I'm concerned about common area. You have that many houses that are coming in and no community room or, you know, anything for the residents to meet. So any plans to put anything in there like that?
The original track in 2006. The track was partially graded, partially improved, and then abandoned during the recession in 08. The current property owners bought the project as is, essentially turnkey, and had to go through and redevelop all the engineering plans and basically get this project up to 2021 standards. So our hands are kind of tied as far as open space. Had we had this chance to do it over again, yes, we'd like to have added more open space, but as it stands, we have 1 lettered lot, and that's along Richmond and Eucalyptus. That is a open space lot that will be landscaped as part of the LMAD plans, which is why we added more LMAD lands and easements to help enhance the green space. But as far as the open park, there's no park on this project.
No. And I guess, I mean, that's the way it is, but I do know there's a park there in that area not too far away. But I think with the additional development going in down there, that those resources are going to be strained because it's not a large park. So just concerned.
And when they were speaking of the 2-car garages, I've noticed recently on some other tracks downhill and such that we're seeing a lot more 2-car garages. Is that, in your opinion, is that a trend?
I don't know if it's a trend. I'm not really on the architectural side of things, but from what the land development side, yeah, that's pretty typical. I know there are other options when you have more space and wider lots where you can go with a 3-car garage or 4-car garage, but this specific property doesn't seem to yield to a larger garage. You add a third or a fourth car garage, all you're going to see is garage doors as you drive down the street instead of the nice architectural features of the house.
Okay. Are there any other questions for him?
Hey, Scott, is this going to get the vinyl fencing? Is this the area where we approve the variance to go ahead and with the vinyl?
No, it would be held to the block wall standards that's
Okay.
currently in place for R1.
Under the impression we're having vinyl fencing, we agreed with the city that we would build the masonry block walls.
Yeah, I'm just referring to LGI had was it LGI that had the community where the owners came in and said they were okay with finishing it up in vinyl?
Yes, unlike this proposal, LGI's development that they just built out at Cypress Point, it had a homeowners association with active amenities. And the planning commission, city council thought it was appropriate to allow them to finish out that development that started with vinyl. And so LGI was building out the remainder part of it. And so the city allowed them to install vinyl.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Okay, and I think you mentioned there's someone from online. I think I'm seeing someone from LGI. So let's jump over to that individual next, since we're in question mode here.
RJ Hernandez.
Good evening. Sorry, I'm trying to, cannot sort, won't let me do the video, so oh, there it is. Sorry about that. Okay. It's not working. So I apologize for that. Thank you, Mr. Lowell, and thank you, commissioners. Really appreciate your time this evening. And very shortly, our head of construction, Joe Cerna, will be chiming in. He can speak more saliently to the architectural side. But I know when looking at the architecture, it looks like it's 1 foot overhang, the eave. So we're not maxing out that 2 foot standard or the 2 foot requirement. So we're just at 1 foot. So that's great there. As to the size of the driveways and the garages, we are just following the city's requirements. You know, we're in conformance with that. I know that, yeah, these days garages are, you know, I mean, I'd love a huge garage, but it is pretty standard. The 2-car garages size. You know, it's very comparable to parking in a parking lot. Instead of having a car, you have to sort of cram yourself into and keep your door from hitting the other car. It's a wall. Fortunately, there are lots of things that people can put on the wall to help mitigate any damage to their vehicle as they open their doors. But I know my associate Joe Cerna, he looks like he's calling in now. He should be chiming in very shortly. I know there was also a comment in regards to a park area concern about there not being such an amenity. I know, there are parks within the city, and the design, according to Mr. Lowell had indicated, is as it was. We have that little LMAD area. There's a little walking path there, so that's that. But everything is, yeah, in accordance to the original tentative map, accordance to the city standards, city requirements. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and see if there's anyone here in the council chambers that would like to speak to us as well at this time on agenda item number 2. Okay, thank you. Okay, seeing no one, then do we have anyone else online?
Yes, Lizette Angulo.
Good evening, planning commissioners. I'm listening about the plan, and I agree with Mr. Harriman. The driveways are just too short, And when I drive around town, I'm always seeing boats and those water skis in front of their house. You see a lot of cars, as Mr. Harriman saying, parking on their lawn, or should I say dirt landscaping. So I think if we had a few less houses in the plan to give the houses a little bit more room, it might resolve some of these issues. And I have a ranch style house, and my ranch style house, we are able to actually drive on both sides of the house to our backyard. So I just want you to consider that. We don't need to have up here in the high deserts to start looking like the houses down the hill with parking all over the place, wherever they can find a spot on their yard, and we could really have nice yards landscaped in our front yards. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. That's it.
There are no other requests online. Oh, well, RJ Hernandez has just raised his hand again.
Okay. Is he there?
Yes, sorry about that. I'm trying to do the video. Sorry about that. So, unfortunately, Mr. Stern, I'm not sure, maybe it's having technical issues, but I've been able to text with him. Unfortunately, he's indicated that it looks like we can extend our garages or specifically our driveways out 18 to 18 feet. So I have that so far, but sorry, that's all I have to report at this point. Just want to at least get you something.
Thank you very much.
There are no other speakers on Zoom.
Okay, then with that, I will close the public hearing portion of this item, and then I'll bring it back to the commission for any discussion, deliberation, and ultimately a motion.
I move to approve as written with the addition of the 18-foot minimum width driveway. And just hope the developers will start taking into consider. I know at 18 and 20 feet on a garage, that's a small garage. So hopefully we can start getting some homes with a little bit bigger garages. But I move to approve with the addition of the larger, wider driveway.
I, Commissioner Thomas, second.
And before we go to a vote, I would like to ask staff that extra foot or that extra 2 feet, whether it be 1 foot on each side or 2 feet on whatever it is, do you see any issues off the cuff with that extra 2 feet fitting in with the design of the home or up against any kind of other lineal barriers or anything that you would see?
Not at all. It would just need to taper down to the 16-foot driveway approach at the property line. But I don't see any issue with accommodating that additional width.
Thank you.
So it wouldn't affect utilities or anything like that?
No.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Commissioner Cook Askins,
Aye.
Commissioner Messin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Vice Chair Harriman,
Aye.
Chair Kurth.
Aye. So that passes with the slight modification. Moving on to agenda item number 3, staff report, please.
located at 15975 Stoddard Wells Road. The project and its various components have been determined to be categorically exempt from CEQA, as discussed in the staff report, given the allowances provided for infill development and minor land divisions. The proposed religious facility is considered an assembly use, which is conditionally permitted in the site's underlying zoning, and the site will be primarily used for meditation with accessory uses such as food preparation, dining, and instruction in language and musical instruments. Typical hours of operations are Sunday morning to Sunday afternoon, with limited weekday and special occasion operations occurring at various times. As conditioned, staff found that the proposal would not cause adverse impacts to neighboring properties in the vicinity. As proposed, the project complies with most typical development standards relating to access, parking, landscaping, building height, with various conditions of approval added to ensure all applicable development standards are addressed prior to building permit issuance. Additionally, the project generally complies with the city's design guidelines, with an increased number of parking lot trees, enhanced entry paving, and building elevations that include architectural treatments and features on all sides, such as a stone veneer, decorative door and window trim, and tower elements with dome features. With regard to the proposed land division, the proposal is also in compliance with the development standards relating to parcel size and dimensions. Although the proposal generally complies with the development standards of the municipal code, required public improvements such as street improvements and the undergrounding of above ground utility lines are omitted from the proposal. However, according to the Planning Commission Policy 09-001, staff has determined that the subject project should be required to install full public improvements and has included conditions of approval to require such accordingly. The noted conditions essentially require full improvements on the entire southern half of the project site, while allowing the northern half of the site to remain unimproved at this time, given its future development potential. This is as depicted in attachment H of the staff report. As discussed in the staff report, the applicant disagrees with staff's interpretation of the noted Planning Commission policy and seeks approval to install limited improvements along Stoddard Wells Road and without relocating existing utilities underground. This position is not supported by the city planner or the city engineer due to the subject municipal code requirements already being proposed for suspension along the northern half of the site, possible safety concerns, as well as these types of improvements being required for all new development in the city for projects of a similar size and scope. With regards to safety concerns, I would note that there was a traffic study submitted by the applicant. However, our city engineer does not concur with the findings in that traffic study as it relates to safety concerns. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing, receive testimony regarding the proposed project, and take the following actions. Find the site plan conditional use permit categorically exempt pursuant to section 15332 of the California Environmental Quality Act, titled Infill Development Projects, and find the tentative parcel map categorically exempt pursuant to section 15315 of CEQA, titled Minor Land Divisions, and adopt resolution P-21-046, approving the conditional use permit portion of case number PLAN 21-00020, subject to the attached conditions of approval, and adopted resolution number P-21-047, approving the site plan portion of case number PLAN 21-00020, subject to the attached conditions of approval, and adopt resolution number P-21-048, approving the tentative parcel map portion of case number PLAN 21-00020, subject to the attached conditions of approval. And staff remain available for any comments or questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Haragi. Any questions for city staff at this point?
How many parking spaces is that project required to have? And is that based on the square footage of the main structure?
Total required parking is 166 spaces. It is based on the primary assembly area of the facility, as well as any secondary classroom or assembly areas. So as proposed in the plans, the site was deficient, I believe about 6 spaces. However, there's sufficient room for that to be added on the site within the project scope boundaries, and that has been conditioned for accordingly.
Does the city engineer agree that the infrastructure for the street is needed to accommodate the entering and exiting of the facility, especially with that many spaces?
I believe the city engineer visited the site and there was some concern with relation to that. I believe he is available online, so I would defer. I would defer to him on that matter.
And so everyone understands that they're actually being only required to do half of what would be normality with other buildings of that size in that street condition. So we've had other churches that have had to do all of it. They don't get that the leisure of only having to do half of it. So half of it, the other half that isn't needed or isn't going to be required is pretty much in front of the single family homes that are going to stay.
The area where it's not required is north of the existing single family homes where there's no development existing or proposed at this time. There are no driveway approaches or driveway access points to Starter Wells Road. Therefore, there will be no impacts from that area of the site. And given its development potential and its size, I believe it's over 5 acres, it would be prudent to have the opportunity for that to develop and provide, excuse me, access points in the future based on development of that particular project.
Okay, thank you.
Was there something you said to defer to to our city engineer? I do see he's online if you have a question for him.
What do you think, Brian?
Microphone. There's just a bit of technical problem with his microphone right now, so.
While he's getting his technical issues corrected, I heard you say that there was a safety concern there. Is that related to not having that road completed and the ingress and egress, all of that completed as planned? So
From my understanding in my discussion with the city engineer, it is related to yes, the site distance, acceleration, deceleration of vehicles, and the number of vehicles that potentially could be visiting the site. I believe the city engineer visited the site to review conditions for himself as a result of this project.
well, is there a way to mitigate that concern until such time as maybe they can get the repairs or the repairs made as needed or as requested? Is there a way to mitigate so that they can get started?
Let's let the expert give a crack at that. He's here.
Thank you, members of the Plan Commission. I think there were some technology issues, so here I am. Would you mind repeating the question? Go ahead.
Do you, with the number of vehicles that are going to be entering and exiting that project, especially with that many spaces, do you find it necessary and to do the infrastructure upgrade. So we keep the street safe because all the traffic that goes by there, that is, by the way, a busy street. All the vehicles, not all, but a lot of vehicles going to and from the dump are using that road. If you could.
I think the
comment on
best way
that.
to put it, because we had another question as well, is if you could just give us a quick overview of the street improvements that are required on the site and reasoning for that requirement.
Yes, I'm very familiar with that stretch of Starter Wells Road, and I went out there last week just to refresh my memory. And I also looked at the site distance along that stretch of Starter Wells Road. And in particular, where the existing driveway connection is, Starter Wells Road would need to be improved. It would need to be widened south of that driveway to have the extra width, and that there's an existing slope, earth slope, that would need to be graded cut back to have adequate sight distance. So I did review that again, and in my professional opinion, it'd be the southern part of the property from the driveway to the south that would need to be widened to have adequate sight distance and adequate ingress and egress from the property. The northern half, I believe, could remain in the existing condition, although there would have to be a taper. Since the road would be widened on the southern half, there would have to be a taper to taper back to the existing width.
And so if the improvements, the infrastructure is changed, it would contain some curb and gutter that would control the drainage also?
Well, yes, the full street improvements would include curb gutter and sidewalk.
Okay, all right,
And the undergrounding, right?
Yes,
okay, thanks, Brian.
you're welcome.
Any other questions for the city engineer? No. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time then, I will open up the public hearing, and I'd like to see if the applicant or project representative is here this evening. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair and all other commissioners and staff. I appreciate it for the time staff had devoted for this project. Thank you again. This project is all about meditation for people to learn and live peacefully in their families, as well as in their workplaces. It's very important at this time of the age that we teach that. I'm the president of a nonprofit organization which is operated by all volunteers. I request all of them to stand up so you can see them. They are businessmen, truck driver, cab driver. From their income, thank you, sit down, please. They contribute to this wonderful opportunity, and they're very happy to do it, to contribute for a peaceful world. I'm also a retired engineer. My life is devoted to create this message of God to create a peaceful humanity. And we six people, some of you might know, when they go to temples, they contribute money as well as do public service with hands at temples. This temple, we're going to invite teachers, police people, all of them, they can learn how to meditate at the end of the day and have a wonderful life. We are all volunteers and we don't draw any salaries. This is not considered as a commercial business. This is serving humanity. On Sunday, 100 people come, and during the week, only 10 people, up to 10 people. And we are talking about widening the road. And that's about from 8 a.m. to maybe 3 p.m. And the traffic can be managed very safely just by putting a flag person at the end of the ceremony or in the beginning. They don't come all of them together. At the end of the ceremony, yes. So we can have 2 flagmen when they're exiting and make it safe. We don't have too many funds to do out the road. We can barely erect this building in phases. And then we can operate inviting people of any color or creed. I personally will teach in English. We have a gentleman, Mr. Skandar Singh. His daughter is MD doctor. She's willing to come and serve people without any fee. This meditation is all free, never going to be charged any penny at any time. So this is not a commercial business. The requirements according to the guidelines on eye attachment is totally adopted by the staff. Why not incorrectly? I have tested, I have given them my feelings about it. They consider it as a full improvement required, widening of the road, gutter, sidewalk, street light. All that money required for this, I can build a temple for that. And we don't have the money for roads and even for the temple at this time. We need help. I begged in the meetings I had with the staff, help me out anyway, in any shape and form to cut down the expenses. But I'm sorry to say, nobody came for my help. But there is one, and that's God. And I know for sure it'll happen. They say it's a raw land. There is 2 houses on this project, single family. People are living in it. There's a barn. We use it as storage for construction purposes. We're getting ready, putting scaffolding we just bought, put them inside because I'm gonna build it. And the volunteers gonna come with me and do it. And I know God is going to send people, volunteers to accomplish this goal. So how it can be considered as a raw land when there are houses and buildings and we're using it? Under that category, scattered single family residential within existing tracks, the suspension of the construction of the road and underground utility is suspended. It says right on this piece of paper. And I urge, I request, please go through this on row number 3 and first column, or any other column, the all wave suspension of the road improvement and utilities. So I'm having difficult time to devote time on such things where I should be focusing on how to run and then get this meditation moving along. I remember Billy Graham put a tent in LA to get started. That inspired me that there is something we should do for people, not for yourself. It's not a commercial. That's I've been told, and I've been told that full development is required. I'm sorry. Help me out. Find a way for me to help you, all of you, can come and get out of this daily stress at the end of the day. Police officers, teachers, when they go home, they're stressed. I don't want them to go stressed. I want them to go happy. I'm willing to devote my life for this. And I appreciate it. Listening. Any question anybody have, I can answer.
Are there any questions from the commission for the project representative?
Yeah, so, sir, is the structure for meditation only? I noticed it says for assemblies also. Are you going to be having, say, weddings or any other events or can you give us some insight on that?
Sure. As I mentioned, it's run by volunteers, and those volunteers deserve to get their family gathering at their own place. I'm not the one. They are the one. And if somebody wants to have their daughter or son married, yes. That's why I mentioned on Saturday during the all year, maybe there's 10 of them, special Sunday programs, Saturdays programs.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The traffic can be managed. There's not much traffic at this time. We have submitted a traffic study compromising that when you make a left turn to the property, we'll extend the road southerly, easterly side so that we can have a left turn lane. And those are designed by professional people. They are in this business. And I'm sorry he couldn't be here today. He had another public appointment where he is, and he apologized he couldn't come. Otherwise, he would be speaking here about the left turn and current situation of the traffic. So I'm sorry I couldn't explain more than that.
Okay, so you spoke earlier that you would be having people come in and maybe 10 at a time. So, but now, I mean, there are going to be times when there's quite a bit of people entering and exiting. Is that correct?
like I mentioned on Sunday, maximum 100 people at this time. So in order to, at the end of the ceremony, we can have a flag people and get them out without having any accident very safely. During the week, people come to just pray, just like in a church, they would pray and they'll go. It's not that there is a rush of people, never gonna happen except Sunday or a special program like you mentioned.
So it is your traffic study that having flagmen at large events is adequate for the traffic?
At this moment, the flagman is not mentioned in that report. It just occurred to me to make the situation safe, we can do that. Once the temple is built, the members, they're going to contribute their devotions, and then we can belt the road. All we need, suspension at this time. That's what we are requesting. And it's not a little amount. The widening of the road on southerly side has a little mountain that had to be cut, and the retaining wall has to be built. So it's not a little. And then street lighting, that's also dumped on us. At this time, there's not a person walking except probably a homeless person. We love to welcome him or her come inside on Sundays when there is a kitchen food available too for the all congregation people as well as for them. Any one of you can come.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
So I think your issues and what you've stated is very clear to us. And I think we're gonna be talking about that a little more. I'm gonna bring in some more people, opening up the public hearing. But I did want to know from you, for the remainder of the conditions for the project, are you okay with the rest of that stuff?
I'm sorry, I didn't follow the question.
The remainder of the conditions, you're not happy with just one of them, which is the improvements.
Oh.
But the remainder of the project conditions of the site plan and CUP, you're okay with the remainder?
I would say so, yes, but there's a one I read somewhere that undeveloped area need to be separated with the beautiful gate. I don't know what's the purpose. Probably they don't want the people to go there and create a dust. Understandable. But why a beautiful gate? I don't have the money to put a beautiful gate. It can be a chain link fence, and there's no public view to that gate. So imposing all strict elements, I think we can save a lot of money by simplifying things. Originally, I was going to put a shed there, so least expensive. Then my architect, wonderful person, Jaspal Singh, he did all that work as a volunteer. Can you imagine something developing this much work without a penny? This is the devotion. I wish someone can play that video, what Sikhs do. There's attachment J on this agenda. If someone can please play that, it's easy. It's a 4 minutes play, and see how much Sikh people do for community during pandemic. Riverside Sikh Temple prepared food, boxed it up, and people came in lines on the road and they deliver to them at no cost and give them masks, even up to dog food.
There's no doubt this is a good thing, and I'm sure it's a very, very good purpose. I think you've made clear the points of contention that you have. And so at this point right now, I'm going to move on, and I'm going to be taking testimony from everyone else, and then I'm sure it'll circle back around with some more, probably some more comments and questions of staff once again. But I thank you for clarifying what you're looking for.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask if there's anyone online that's looking to speak.
Jaspal Sidhu.
Yeah, this is Jaspal Sidhu. Can you guys hear me out?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm the architect and the engineer of record on this job. And I just want to clarify a few things on this. Is it possible that I can share my screen? Now, can I share my screen?
I'm being told that we don't have that capability at this time.
Oh, I wish. I'm sorry. Actually, I wanted to show you the exhibit which was drawn up by the traffic engineer. I wish maybe the staff can the staff display the grading plan on the screen? The one which I'm seeing right now.
Are we able to get the grading plan up on the screen? I'm not sure. They're gonna make a call here. I'm not sure if they're able to do that.
Just this plan.
We have the site plan.
Yeah, the site plan. This plan is okay. So basically, what I'm trying to explain is, if you guys can look at here, we are showing some widening of the street. It's not that we are suspending all the improvements on the street. When the traffic study is done, basically, if you will look at this road, I don't think you guys, there's no way that I can use my cursor to go through this. Can I? Is there any way like I can have a control on the mouse, or no control on the mouse? Like I can show you. Maybe the staff, basically what I'm trying to say is, did you see those hatch lines on the street, the cross hatches on the street, on the Stoddardville Road?
Yeah, yes, we can see those.
Yes, so basically that's the widening of the street on both sides of the driveway. And you see those dark lines, that's creating an island. Basically, what the traffic engineer is recommending is creating a left turn into the temple. You see the left arrows on the street?
Yes.
So there is going to be about 150 feet long left turn pocket for the traffic coming from the north side, coming towards south. That traffic can go straight, or they can make a left. There's a left turn pocket also for the vehicles to wait in case there's a traffic going from the south to the north. So in order to accommodate that left turn pocket, we do have to widen the street. And also there's a little island we have created on the south side of the driveway, so that the traffic, basically, because we have to create a left turn, so to accommodate that, we have to widen the street on the south side of the driveway. Also, we have to widen the street on the north side of the driveway. I think that is quite long. I don't have the measurement in front of me, but it is quite long, I would say. If this is 200 feet pocket, that's probably 500-600 feet of the road which we have to widen in order to create that left turn pocket. So that will mitigate any requirements for the development of this temple. As far as the traffic is concerned, or any traffic is going to be generated by this development of this traffic. What Mr. Singh is talking about is that not the suspension of all of this, but he's talking about the suspension of like a typical statement which is written there that we have to widen the whole street, put curb and gutter, the street lights. That's what we are talking about. So I just want to clarify that we are not talking about that we are going to asking for the entire suspension, but we are willing to do whatever is required for the traffic being generated for this tempo to make sure that everybody is safe on the street.
Your time is up.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else online wanting to speak?
There are no other speakers on Zoom.
Okay, is there any here in the council chambers that has submitted a card that would like to speak?
I have no speaker cards from in chambers.
Okay, we have one speaker. Please.
Two minutes, correct?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, thank you. So to the quasi judicial board before me, I pose these questions. Does code as currently constructed allow for viable options for a certificate of occupancy to be granted with modification of staff's current recommendations? Is the traffic studies that the city engineer agreed with safety concerns available to the public immediately? And has the city engineer visited the site with the presence of the project prospect? If not, why? In my professional observation, it is clear that there is a disconnect between the need of the project's perspective and the rules and regulations that city enforces. Shall the council mediate? Notwithstanding the city development personnel presumably can't do the following: can't consider the project on vacant and raw land, denies the suspension of road development, and the suspension is confirmed of road improvement because adjacent properties have not developed the road. The city is looking for project-specific improvements and mitigation measures. And I quote, it says, to accommodate the southbound left turn movement from Sauter Wells Road to the project driveway, it is also recommended that 150 feet southbound left turn pocket be provided as a safety improvement for the northbound traffic movements, to assure that the northbound left turn movement be made outside of the northbound through lane to reduce the potential of rear end crashes. Yet it is not needed for traffic capacity enhancements. It is as it currently sits, the following terms: reduction, potentiality, and not needed. Language that is found in the Evans and Associates vendors report pose an option that the commissioners may look at to help aid the project to move forth. Commissioners, I also do understand that in your position, there's not much leeway, so I would understand how you would approach this. The latitude is not there as the council is. With that said, a viable option for case plan 21-00024 is to wait to see what the commissioners board can do and if they do anything. Another option is to bring this to the city council to wait for a period of 40 days, like we did with the BIA, potentially to have a redirection for the planning commissioners if there is concern further. I just wanted to make that part of the hearing record. There are options. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if that's the last of the speakers on this item, then I'm going to close the public hearing. And bring it back to the commission. Now, I'm assuming that we may still have a couple of questions for staff, and they are here on standby. But it's time for any further final discussion and deliberation.
Yeah, Scott, as pertaining to Mrs. Gomez's remark, in your opinion, does the Planning Commission have just as much knowledge on how to approach this and mitigate the traffic concerns, or is the city council better at it than us?
What's before the planning commission tonight is a site plan and conditional use permit. Barring any appeal, the planning commission has authority to make full approval or denial of a project. So with that said, the municipal code is set up whereby the planning commission acts on these applications.
Okay, so then I'm going to consider myself just as competent as any city council person. I have a problem with the amount of traffic that's going to come in and out of this project, especially when there are assemblies, not just people one at a time coming in and out to meditate. That road is actually a busy road. You have a traffic study I don't agree with. That is a busy road, and that road has suffered the consequences of all the traffic now for quite some time because the existing facilities and residences on that street were there way before that street was busy. So the way I understand it, they're grandfathered in. They can't be required as you're being required to improve the street. Now, you have many things that are happening here. There are many churches in the city that have had to do the road improvements. I don't think there's been any bias in this project. The drainage infrastructure is required. The traffic is the big concern. Having flag people out is not an option. That is virtually, I would never eliminate required traffic for flag people. It just ain't gonna happen. That road is busy. With all due respect, sir, you say the architect did all this work for free? So it sounds to me like you're saving quite a bit of money, but you're also saying you can't afford to do the road improvements. Okay, so I would also like to remind you that the work is if it is not going to be able to be done by volunteers, they have to be licensed contractors and they have to have business licenses in the city just to finish the project upon completion. So I do have problems with all of it, and I'll move it. Anybody else wants to speak?
Other comments?
Yes, while I do understand the dilemma and your request for a suspension of the requirements that the city has set forth, I guess in my mind, how long would it take? How long a suspension would you need? Secondly, you said that your engineer, your designer had laid out a plan for that left turn lane. And has he gotten with the city engineer about it? Have they talked about it? I'm sorry.
I'll open up the public hearing just to answer that one question. Go ahead. Yep, we're open.
Sorry. Sir, I'm very well aware of all the certification to be done for the work done, and it'll be done properly, and it'll be signed off by professional people who are required. So the inspections by the city is passed. I'm very well aware of it. Volunteer means getting stuff to the professional people who comes to work. Helping out the project those what I meant. Okay. Just like I heard you were a concrete contractor. Labor work required. And I'm very well of the soil mechanics too, that needed to be at a certain compaction before you even put a concrete on it. I did all that in my life. I did from foundations to touch of paint and a punch list. Very well aware of all the.
I'm sorry, sir. I think the question was, can you repeat the question?
Yes, I was concerned about the length of time you were requesting a suspension to get this work done.
According to,
I also one other question, and that was had to do with your engineer, your designer, meeting with the city engineer. Has he done that or she done that?
we had meeting where they showed me this paper that you fall under category of raw land and commercial project, which requires full improvement, which we just talked about. If we go underneath, like I mentioned before, that this property has 2 single-family homes and a barn, and we store stuff there. We're getting ready for construction if we do get a permit. And according to that paragraph, it tells me if adjacent property is developed but is lacking street improvement or underground utilities, then suspended until the street block owners of all have suspension agreements. This is Planning Commission's guidelines for us to follow. So I've been categorized in a different mode. I'm all just following what it states. We pay taxes on the house, we pay sewer, water, all the town, whatever is required, and county tax too. So I'm requesting, according to this planning guidelines, and God forbid, if we do get the money from volunteers, from any big soul.
Sir, I'm gonna interrupt you just because I think, was your question answered or kind of?
Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm gonna close the public hearing again. And I'm gonna, any other questions? Commissioner Messin, any questions or thoughts?
I just have a quick comment. I believe what you're trying to build is something very beautiful for your members and the community. However, I do share the same sentiment as my colleagues here. It is a very busy road with winds and it gets dark. There's also the off-ramp and on-ramp to the freeway that leads from Apple Valley to Victorville, that area. So I understand your frustrations, but I do believe that the improvements are needed. And those are my comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Cook-Askins?
Yes, Chairman, I concur. It's a great project, but we also need to be mindful of the safety components, not only right now, but in the future as well.
And I had one question. I'm not sure if it's Mr. Haragi or Mr. Gangler. But the applicant has showed us a few times these, the Planning Commission guidelines that do talk about the suspension. Could you give us a little bit of what your take is on that? He talked about it mentioning possible suspension in a number of columns, but I'm not exactly aware of what that is.
Yes, Mr. Chair. That was attachment I of the Planning Commission staff report, Planning Commission Policy 09001. That was created in 2009 to provide guidance to the Planning Commission on when to grant suspension requests. Prior to that, there was no real clear guidance other than not affecting health, safety, and welfare, and findings prior to that time were not really as clear as they should have been within the resolutions. So this policy was prepared to provide the Planning Commission guidance upon request for suspension. So what he's referencing in his comments are, there's a top row that notes the type of development, whether it's new development, addition or expansion to an existing facility, change or intensification of use. And then on the left side, it talks about the land use type. So staff consider this commercial and industrial as we normally do. With assembly uses, we consider them a commercial use. The reason we went with new development on vacant land versus any of the others is because there's no existing facility as a commercial use right now. Right now, it's single family homes, and in fact, they're being subdivided into their own lot, so they won't exist on the property anymore. So it does become then new development on vacant land. And there's no existing facility that's commercial that can be added onto. So it's not like there's an existing church, we're adding onto it. That would have been a different consideration pursuant to the policy. So the reference to scattered single family development, that is really intended to be for new single family homes.
I understand. Okay. Thank you. All right, then with that, I'm going to ask the commission for a determination.
I'll move to concur with the report and the recommendation by the city engineer and planning.
Second.
Commissioner Cook Askins,
Aye.
Commissioner Messin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Vice Chair Harriman,
Aye.
Chair Kurth.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously.
That the project has passed without your request. I'm sorry. All right, moving on now, staff report for agenda item number 4, please.
Thank you, Chairman Kurth, fellow commissioners. Item number 4 is case PLAN 21-00024. It is a site plan and with a mitigated negative declaration to allow for the development of a 170-bed low barrier navigation center shelter entitled the Wellness Center, providing interim housing with wraparound support services. The applicant is the city of Victorville. The location is 16902 First Street, just north of Eva Dell Park. Due to the growing homeless population in Victorville, city staff has been pursuing this project ever since the city council gave direction in August of 2020, where they met and gave direction to continue with the land use entitlement process and securing of funding for this project. Earlier this year, the Planning Commission and City Council adopted an amendment to the Old Town Specific Plan, permitting navigation centers at the underlying facility. Staff is now returning to receive site plan entitlement and environmental negative declaration approval from the Planning Commission. The scope of the project is a housing first approach with low barriers to entry, offering interim housing and supportive services for homeless and for those at risk of becoming homeless. The non-congregate design of the modular housing units offer 110 separate units with a minimum capacity of 170 beds. Along with interim housing beds, the Wellness Center will include ample community space offering a wide variety of supportive services such as a medical clinic, substance abuse counseling, employment linkage, public benefits assistance, pet care, and housing navigation. The unique on-site layout of the 9,600 square foot support service buildings allows for those at risk of homelessness from the community to also utilize the on-site services. Altogether, the 25,920 square foot facility is planned on 4.5 acres of city-owned land with additional amenities such as a community garden, recreational sports courts, a dog kennel, and open landscape space. The operations of the facility will consist of a service agreement executed between the city council and a selected lead operator. In June of this year, the city established a 92-bed interim shelter facility. This facility is located at the Westman Sports Center, and it's planned to remain operational until the Wellness Center campus is opened. Similar to the interim shelter, this Wellness Center campus will have a lead operator and will be subject to a service agreement, which will spell out typical operational measures that are mentioned in the staff report. Also with this project, the city conducted a full initial study and is presenting a mitigated negative declaration for the Planning Commission's consideration and approval. The city has applied for home key funding, and it hopes to receive funding in the coming months and start construction next year. We have a full list of team members that have been working on this project available should you have any questions. Our homeless solutions coordinator is available, lead architect, environmental consultants, and Connect Homes, which is the prospective manufacturer of these units, is also available should you have any questions. But with that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt the attached mitigated negative declaration with a mitigation and monitoring and reporting program, and adopt resolution number P-21-049, approving case number PLAN 21-00024, subject to the attached conditions of approval. And with that, I'm available should you have any questions.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions from the commissioners of the staff report?
Scott, is there an existing sewer system there?
There is sewer in both First Street and River Street. The plans will connect to the sewer within River Street with a pump system.
And then is any of the on-site drainage going to be directed towards the river, or are there? We've had a project that had underground tanks. How's this going to work?
Yeah, all of the off-site and on-site stormwater flows would go to a detention basin on the northern end of the property. There's no plans to connect through to the Mojave River. So it will be detained on-site on the northern end of the facility.
And the road improvements will be done?
That is correct. Road improvements will be done along First Street and River Street.
Well, I got to say, the place looks beautiful in them pictures. I just hope we can keep it that way down there. Have there been any letters or anything from the surrounding existing residences in regards to the project?
Yes, we mailed out 38 mailers. Those are the properties within 300 feet. We only received one support letter, and that's included as attachment C.
And he's in line with, he's okay with the project. Is that correct?
Yes, from the support letter, he sees more benefits.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any concerns with the churches down there? Any inquiries or comments?
I have not fielded any concerns. I'm confident with a strong professional services agreement with a lead operator that will be able to mitigate any impacts or concerns that arise in the surrounding area.
I just had a question about the parking spaces available on site. Is there room for growth to accommodate the residents if more than the amount that's provided have cars or acquire cars?
Yes, so with the forthcoming service agreement, we'll dictate that they shall not create an impact on parking on surrounding areas. But should the residents, more residents have their own vehicle and want to park on site, there is an additional planned area of the campus that would allow an additional 18 stalls.
Thank you.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and I'll open up the public hearing. I wanted to see if there's anybody online on the Zoom call.
We have no requests.
No request to speak. Okay, and anyone here in the chambers that would like to speak on this agenda item number 4? Okay.
So once again, this is Blanca Gomez addressing the Commissioners Board. Despite the fact that I always like to compliment that perceivably, in theory, we're doing something great with the American Rescue Plan dollars of $33 million that are going to be reappropriated, as you see in front of you, and say, hoopla, hoopla, yes, wonderful. I also have to bring in the opposite side that many of you may not be aware in practice. If you're not on the streets on 7th Street, R&D Street, or on any other street where a lot of the homeless are populated, knowing that City of Victorville is the number 2 based on the point in time count that is every year, January the last week, if you've ever volunteered from 5 to 10, which I have. So very specific with details, just to give some credibility to what I'm about to say. So like I said, the positives are, yes, we do have wraparound services. There'll be pets allowed, yada, yada, yada. That's all the great news we hear. But what we don't hear is from the mouths of the very vulnerable people, the homeless themselves that have names and identities and faces, who get harassed by our code enforcement department. So I have to go out there and find out what the issues are from their mouth. And when I do, just like you, I want to see them housed. But a lot of the theories say that they don't want to be housed. They want to be out in the streets. They want to be on drugs. That's not true. It's not true. And I'm here to testify about that in this public venue. I know people are watching, which is very important. So these people that have names and children who happen to have a bad spot in their life aren't able to go to the West Winds. They don't have access. They've given me names of people. Maybe I should or shouldn't say them. The name of Monica. I don't know who she is. I just know this person happens to work there. Well, despite the fact name drop, I want you to know that I don't know who this person is, but several homeless people have told me that they are not allowed and they will not be taken in to these shelters because 1, they're very, very old. 2, they're ambulant. They can't walk. They're on wheelchairs. Okay. And what else? Too much care is required of them. They have to be on medication. Who's going to be there to oversee them? So as much as I want to applaud what we're doing here today, I need to bring the other end of it on the public record for the government to understand that we may be doing something good, but we're not doing the grassroots works that require a lot of our members to get that assistance and help, and they want that help. They don't want to be out in the streets in the rain with a wheelchair. They don't want to be out drinking. They want the programs to help, and it hasn't, and it's not. And so it's my duty as a grassroots individual
Your
who
time is up.
partakes like you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak to us on this item? Yes, we have one.
Applaud the city and the city staff for taking the effort to move things forward. It starts somewhere, and this is a start. And it's a positive start to a problem that's been ongoing for a long time. But the fact that the city has shown enough concern to even make the start, that's a thumbs up.
Thank you. And anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Yeah.
Did you want to speak, ma'am?
Well, I wasn't with Mr. Webb, but I was there and I met the top ranking people that presented the grants that were going to present the grants to the top heads to where the money comes down to Victorville. Now, I did mention about homeless, and I mentioned about how do we beautify Victorville again. 7th Street did come up, a rebuilding 7th Street. Now, the homeless, they should have a shelter built. I think that came up in the conversation that we had there, that they're Victorville to build their own housing facility of low-income housing for the residents, you know, bringing them into normalcy of having a home, safe home for their children. That's what I kept, that's what my main focal point has been, because I always want to, for my heart to be at service of Victorville, because I'm a resident here and I'm a homeowner here. So I want to see what's best for Victorville. Victorville is the county of San Bernardino. That's why I keep mentioning our upper leaders to where the funding comes down to Victorville. So that's one thing that we really need to address urgently, and that is the homeless. And making affordable housing so that we can get people off of the streets. And another thing I wanted to say before my time is up is that with the law enforcement, I did mention to this group because I took a survey and I says, you know, I would like to say them put cameras on the street lighting poles, the ones that exist. And when we get more funding to put more street light poles up, but the ones that are there, they can put cameras. And I said this before, they have mentioned it on television here lately, to where you can, in the alleys, cameras, and for the sheriff's department to be able to have much more allocation funding so they can hire like 100 more law enforcement task force to help our city to be safe and for the businesses to thrive that are coming into the city of Victorville, so it can be the golden key metropolis. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing and I'm gonna bring it back to the commission for a decision.
Scott, our job here is not to do anything except approve the design and the typical issues that come up with planning. We're really not here to judge or to make any kind of anything as if, I'll give the example of one of our speakers who I guess has an issue with helping the homeless with a shelter. That's not in our scope, correct?
Yes, before you tonight is a site plan and mitigated negative declaration. Earlier this year, the Planning Commission and City Council already took action to permit navigation centers. So this is a permitted use.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no other questions, we'd look for a motion.
I move to approve as written.
Commissioner Cook Askin, second.
We have a motion and a second.
I have a first by Vice Chair Harriman and a second by Commissioner Cook Askins. I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Cook Askins,
Aye.
Commissioner Messin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Vice Chair Harriman,
Aye.
Chair Kurth.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And good job, city staff. This has been a long one coming, off and on, big project. And this will definitely put us on the map here as far as, you know, moving forward with a project of this scale. Moving on to new business, item number 5, staff, please.
Thank you, Chairman Kurth, fellow commissioners. Item number 5 is a draft of a policy to give guidance for future car washes and gas stations. It's just to give you some guidance on some standards to start deliberating. But due to some time constraints, I'm recommending we continue this item to the January 12th regular Planning Commission meeting, which will give you additional time to think of other additional standards, guidances that you may need. But we're available if you have any questions.
Okay, are there any questions right now on this one? It looks like, you know, due to the time constraints, there is a meeting going to be happening here at 7 o'clock. And this is something that could easily be continued. Does the commission feel okay with that? Is there anybody that does not want to continue this item?
I'm okay with that.
We're all okay?
Okay.
Okay. Then with that, I'll make the motion to continue this item to our next regular meeting.
And I'll second that.
I have a first by Chair Kurth and a second by Vice Chair Harriman. I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Cook Askins,
Aye.
Commissioner Messin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Vice Chair Harriman,
Aye.
Chair Kurth.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. At this time, it's public comments, general public comments. I'll open up the public hearing for these comments that are not on the agenda, but within our subject matter jurisdiction. Is there anyone online that is looking to speak?
I have no speakers on Zoom.
On Zoom. And in the council chambers, do we have anyone that would like to speak? Okay.
Every time I come to speak here, I'm not challenging any of you. I'm just very passionate with what I do. And if it comes out in a different manner, I'm not going to apologize because I'm out there and I have to see individuals suffering in the court system and in different venues. But despite the fact, I understand that each one of us has a responsibility and we all have our due diligence in the manner that we do address it, and we do it. So you have a position there for any reason or for whatever reason the universe has placed you. And I don't challenge your position in one manner. I'm actually glad you are there because we get to think different. We get to look at different perspectives. I'm no better than any of you. As a matter of fact, most of you have more experience in different venues than I do. And I like that because one day we will be able to come together and organize with our goals and come together to make a city of a humanity, not just Victorville, but our humanity, a much better societal place with public safety, whatever public safety looks like to you and to me in combination, because it's a different definition with accountability and transparency. So I'm not here to challenge what you're doing. It's just an option. Listen to my voice as another voice of a formulaic city that says, if I were in her shoes right now and not working or not attending my children or having to go to UCR or SBU or whatever to do a doctorate, I would be there voicing some of those concerns. And that's all I am, another voice trying to say, this is what we see on this angle. What do you see? Because I see different angles here. So I'm not here to challenge any of what you guys do. I'm here to learn. But it's unfortunate that sometimes the way I bring across tonality gets misconstrued. And that's not the case here. Like I said, I'm here to partner with what I believe is to make a better humanity. And it includes Victorville, but it's not just Victorville for me. Thank you for listening to my concerns and for whatever it takes it, even the audience that is listening and will listen to these future recordings at one point or another. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I have no other requests.
Okay, thank you. I'll close the public comment section. At this time, any presentations or reports from commission members and staff? I'll start with Commissioner Harriman. Anything?
I would just like to commend our planning department for allocating or retaining those grants to do that homeless shelter. That really puts Victorville on the map. I don't see any of that anywhere in Southern California, especially designed like that. That's just a great facility, and ascertaining those grants, there was probably a lot of work that went into that. And then I would just like to say Victorville and their Christmas parade just hit it again. It was a great parade and it brings our community together.
Commissioner Cook Askins.
All right, thank you, Chairman. I just want to appreciate the staff, the city staff and the residents and community members for coming out this evening. And also I'd like to welcome Commissioner Messin to the commission, and we're happy to have you.
Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you. I'd also like to welcome you to the commission, and any questions that I can help you with, I'll be glad to. But there are a lot a lot of people here that have a lot of experience, so you should be able to get any questions answered. I want to wish everyone a happy holiday season and just be careful and take care of yourselves. And that's it for me.
Commissioner Messin?
I just wanted to thank everyone for the warm welcome. I'm excited to be here and work with the commission and city staff, and I just want to wish everyone a happy holidays.
Well, thank you for that. And I as well want to wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Victorville, and we'll take it up again next year. Any comments or updates from staff?
Just wanted to wish everybody a happy holidays, and there is another meeting starting after this, so if you're not here to stay for the city council meeting, we'll need to clear off the dais and out of the chamber. That's it.
Well, we still got 10 minutes, so I think I'll just wait to adjourn for a few minutes. Put a little more stress on you guys. And with that, thank you. Meeting adjourned.